Oh, well, hello, guys. Welcome to my channel over here, Indigo Eagle 22. You guys may recognize my voice. I started with another channel that I currently run as well. It's Ari Starlight. I mainly do tarot readings, tarot spreads, free readings, and things like that over there on that channel. I started this vlog channel. I've had many requests and people inboxing me on all my social media platforms and kind of just want a place to talk about all different kinds of things. So I figured, why not? Let's make a channel where we can do that. All of us like-minded people can get together and just kind of have a go at it. Okay, this first video here, I'm just going to give a run at it here on my new channel and try to get my subscribers up. So if you would be so kind and spread the love over here on this channel and hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you can get notified when I upload a new conversation. So what I want to skim over today in my very first video here on this channel, I want to get into energy in itself. I want to get into the word quantum. There's many people out there that are, as the popular term is, awoke or awakening, spiritual awakening. Um, I kind of refer to it as just people paying more attention now, paying a little more attention, not easily fooled and tricked as maybe we once were. And for a lot of the lucky people out there that were kind of born awake, how gifted and how blessed is that? Beautiful. Well, whether we all want to believe it or not, we were born into, or came in existence, came into being, came into our consciousness in a world of magic. We're surrounded by magic every day in our lives. And I believe, in my opinion, the biggest injustice that the higher be, the powerful ones, whoever has domain over overseeing us as human beings, the greatest injustice idea that they could ever came up with was to put us on a platform where we had no clue. We kind of think things are one way, and if we're lucky enough to pay attention or figure it out or awaken, that we could slowly kind of put the pieces together that, hey, we're not being told the truth. We've been kind of tricked from day one. And the unfortunate thing is there's quite a few people out there that they're never going to see it that way. One reason or another, they may not meant to awaken in this lifetime. That may be meant for another lifetime. But the most beautiful, most empowering, wonderful thing you can do is to awaken within yourself, go within, and really go on this journey of discovery, discovering everything there is to know about you and your surroundings, this place where you came to be. Once you start shedding layers away, and a lot of people like to refer to it as the matrix. I'm 50-50 on that ideal. But the 50% of me that does like comparing it to that is it makes it easier. And it kind of gives you a visualization of how to put it in context. And it really is a very compatible comparison. It's just easy to process and think of it that way. Either way, once you start going through levels of this matrix and you start figuring it out and kind of conquering it, and you're moving up levels and moving up levels, and you start shedding away false things that don't really pertain to you, things that you don't need, life starts to become a whole lot different. in most cases, a whole lot easier, a whole lot better, a whole lot more comfortable. It starts to feel like something you can keep up with. And time, the word time, is probably one of the most lethal, poisonous things we ever would have to face in this matrix, to say, or in this frequency. In a lot of my studies, everything circles back to energy, different types of energy. And once you start to unlock things and see things and expand your consciousness, expand your knowledge, your wisdom, it starts to change frequencies within you. You know, each of us, we're all our own unique energy. We all vibrate, we all resonate at a different unique frequency. Now we do share same frequencies, but not all of the same frequencies. Okay, I'm going to get in, I'm going to read, I want to start off by reading the definitions of quantum, just so everyone out there kind of knows the exact term and terminology for quantum, because I know a lot of people will hear the word quantum and you'll speak it in a sentence, and they kind of know what it means and they're engaged. But then I always see this kind of wonderment of they veer off somewhere because they don't quite know exactly what that means, what that word means. And they've heard scientists say it and all these really intelligent people, so they automatically shut off at a certain point as to say, well, I don't really know everything about that, so I'm going to kind of listen, but I'm going to stay in this area of I don't really know what the fuck's going on or what's being talked about. So I want to take away from that on that word. I don't want that to be a scary word, because at the end of the day, quantum really is just a term explaining energy. Okay, so I'm going to read the dictionary definition and then go into the Wikipedia definition, because there's several different definitions. And they all kind of sound different, but like I said, at the end of the day, it really just means the same thing. So the dictionary for quantum is a discrete quantity of energy proportionally in magnitude to the frequency of the radiation it represents. And then number 2, there is a required or allowed amount, especially an amount of money legally payable in damages. So that would be in, say, like a court of law or a business. You would have a quantum amount of money. Okay, so let's look at the Wikipedia definition of quantum. And then I want to say here too, I'm looking on Google. Quantum here says, in physics, a quantum is the minimum amount of any physical entity involved in an interaction. The fundamental notion that a physical property can be quantized is referred to as the hypothesis of quantization. And I do apologize, this is the Wikipedia definition. This means that the magnitude of the physical property can take on only discrete values consisting of integer multiples of one quantum. For example, a photon is a single quantum of light or of any other form of electromagnetic radiation. Similarly, the energy of an electron bound within an atom is quantized and can exist only in a certain discrete values. Indeed, atoms and matter in general are stable because electrons can exist only at discrete energy levels within an atom. So what that's saying is it acts in a certain way and in a pattern, and it can only be this way in this certain pattern. Quantization is one of the foundations of the much broader physics of quantum mechanics. Quantization of energy and its influence on how energy and matter interact, quantum electrodynamics, is part of the fundamental framework for understanding and describing nature. So, why I read all that off is, in a nutshell, they're describing and they're explaining how nature works, how our physical world works, the energy of us, the energy that we live in, our 3D reality, which would be Earth, nature, everything around us. So what they're saying is, and even like I said, I have a tarot business. I own a spiritual practice. Is my profession, is my business. I work with many things. I teach people, I mentor people, I hold classes. Um, so even with the zodiac, with astrology, these are all fixed systems. These are all fixed cycles, and they repeat, and they behave in a continuous, repeated fashion. Uh, it's the cycles, and they're over and over, and it may be at different ranges, different velocity, different levels. Nonetheless, it is a cycle, and they stay within that cycle. Now, with a human being, evolution would be kind of stepping outside of that cycle, but it's not. It's not necessarily stepping outside of that cycle. It's enhancing a different cycle. It's now performing a different kind of a cycle. So why I'm saying all this is, I've been watching a lot of people and a lot of different scientists and shows, and they've been doing this. They really got active with it back during Hitler's days. He really got some stuff popped off. But they're trying to go in and figure out consciousness, spiritual consciousness, how that operates, and what people are tapping into. And they're really trying to get a handle on it, and they're trying to figure it out. When they explain it, they can explain so much, and they can't go any further than that because they really cannot explain it in a scientific manner, in a 3D cycle matrix type of a manner. Because when consciousness is taking place and you're doing these spiritual practices, rituals, meditating, mind over matter, healing, all of this, you're going into a place that is uncontrollable. This is a place where, like I said, they cannot put into a scientific explanation because they have not figured out a way to tap into it and control it. And I'm fearful that this is what they're trying to do ultimately, is they're trying to tap into this. See, because they can control us on all different kinds of aspects in our life. From the day you're born, it's all about control. It's about how they want you to behave, how you're supposed to behave, and that's just the way it works in this matrix. That's just the way it works in these cycles. You can't break these cycles. You break the cycle, everything's going to go haywire. You will cease to exist, one way or the other. So they have this system that defies these cycles. It's not bound to these cycles. It's not bound to time. Because time is the key factor of these cycles. Time seems to bind all of this working mechanism, binding it together. So once you transcend time, it's uncontrollable. You cannot, it's something that can't be controlled. So you have all these people, and they're trying to go in for whatever reason. Maybe to tax you on your consciousness. I don't know. If you go and meditate or you astral plane, there's going to be a toll fee when you get up there close to the moon. You got to pay $5.99 to get through the gate. You come back, you got to pay $5.99 to get back home. And they're really trying to go in and figure out a way to control this and to tap into it. Because see, if you could get into to each individual's consciousness and their free spirit, their free will, their thinking, you then really could control someone. That would be ultimate control. That would be like your ultimate, slave or whatever, uh, object, thing, energy to do with what it is you please. So it's the really scary part. And then why I started off with that first, and what I'm really leading into is everyone needs to really be aware and working on your consciousness and waking up and paying attention. Because what they have coming up and what they have planned for us as a mass whole throughout the world is this Agenda 21, formerly known as Agenda 21. They have officially changed the name as Agenda 2030 now. And I believe that's, people were really getting in there and they're finding out a lot. So they figure if they change the name up, that throw people off a little bit. Well, it's Agenda 2030. So Agenda 2030 is all about the UN taking over, and they've been doing it little by little. And I know all of you out there have noticed the small changes, but they're just small enough that it pisses you off. But you're like, oh, I still got this time schedule and shit I'm on, so like, I'm not going to worry about that. I got my bills to worry about or whatever. But it's just enough to make people conversate about it. Like, oh man, do you see what they did? Yeah, they changed this and they took this away and they're gonna make this law and they're gonna make marijuana legal now and so it's just enough to keep you talking but not wanna do a upheaval, So it's very cleverly planned out. And they say that they had actually initiated it back in the 30s. Back in the 30s and the 40s. They really started initiating this plan. So the UN is going to be this one world order. And they're the ones, this organization, they're going to be calling the shots for everyone, every country, every state, everything. They're ultimately in control of everything. Now, I do have a couple opinions on that. I think maybe they already have. We just don't know it. They're just not telling us that. But I do fear that the plans that they have for us, boy, if you don't like communism, I mean, I don't know what to say here because this is like communism times 1,000. This is that they're forming us and they're conditioning us to work like machines. And it's if you don't operate in this cycle, and if you're a free thinker, if you're over here using your will, if you're going within inside yourself, and it's kind of like the movie Divergent. And I suggest you go watch that if you have not. And they're speaking a lot on as well. It's all tied in with the movies. All the movies that are making have truth within them. They are telling us what the future is going to look like, what their plans are, what they have implemented already. But see, they break it up and they spread it apart. Well, they'll do a little something here in New Orleans. They'll do a little something different over here in England, over here in London. We'll try the chip over here, the RID chip or RIDF chip. I might have that wrong. But you know what I'm talking about, the mark of the beast, little chip things so they can really monitor you. They did that to some prisoners here in, I believe it was in Alabama. And they came out and some of these prisoners, they come out and are on house arrest. And a lot of them were sex offenders. So they made these sex offenders get this chip while they're in prison. And they get out. And it was to track them and to monitor them. And the prisoners knew that. They agreed to it. So, well, instead of wearing a bracelet, yeah, I'll do that. It cut my time down and I get to get out and I'm free. Yeah, I'll do the chip. Well, there were some people, they were going crazy. These chips, they started hearing noises, they started hearing voices talking to them, telling them what to do. And I mean, it just really was this strange, terrible thing. One poor guy, it damn near landed him in the nut house. He went to the hospital and he demanded, take this freaking thing out of me. One guy could hear high pitched screeching in his ears. I mean, it just really, really was terrible. And I feel like they were the very first wave of guinea pigs. Sort of doing this, so they could figure out, okay, what do we have to tweak? Does the metal cause infection on the skin? Does the body want to reject it? Blah, blah, blah. So they went ahead and did that, and it was a localized issue. So the masses really didn't give a shit. They did when they heard about it, like, oh man, that's crazy. But at the end of the day, it wasn't like a mass thing, so it went away. You moved on to the next cycle of issues. So, and then they'll do things too to throw these fear tactics at you, because fear is a very big thing too. Fear, time, sight, these all go hand in hand. These are all magical components to make you docile and to make you a functioning, but functioning at maybe like a circus chimpanzee level, you know, at a show dog level. So then you get over there to London and you get in there and they had some experiments and some things going on with the chip. So these are all trials because eventually they're going to make it world round. And I'm not bringing all this up, and don't get me wrong, I get into conspiracies and things like that, but you don't want to jump down that rabbit hole, and I'm not trying to perpetuate anything to strike fear. It is nothing like that. It is simply here to bring awareness. Awareness is a beautiful thing. Because if you're not aware of something, if you're not knowing of something, then you're ignorant. You're ignorant to that because it does not exist in your frequency. So you can't know something that doesn't exist. Well, what the hell are you supposed to say? I don't know what you're talking about. What is that? So it makes you innocent in a way, but innocent like a sacrificial lamb. So I think a lot of people are scared to come out of this ignorant phase. See, because ignorance is safe. That's safe. That's a safe, you're like a martyr. You're like, you could get slaughtered, but you were innocent because you really didn't know about that and you didn't study enough about it and you didn't pay attention. So I'll still go to heaven and I'm innocent, because I was not knowing, which is bullshit. uh, it really is time for everyone to start waking up and really start paying attention, because the only way you can beat a system is you have to either outnumber them, outsmart them, and that there definitely has to be a compromise of beings that are willing to do the same thing and rooting and fighting and wanting the same thing. So I'm concerned at the same time because everywhere you look, and they've been setting us up little by little. For the past years, a couple years ago, they were opening us up to magic. Everything that was on TV, songs, toys, everything, Harry Potter, everything was magic. Okay, so now they're setting you up for being comfortable with magic. Now, we're in 2020 and it was starting in 2019. There's this big push for awakening, spiritual awakening, and it's everywhere. It's in the movies. So they're conditioning us. So it leads me to think, which don't get me wrong, I do believe that awakening and taking these spiritual journeys and ascension raising your consciousness is amazing. But why I am concerned is why the big push from the government, from just listen to the president's speeches. Once you start embarking on certain journeys and raising your consciousness and learning all these new things, you will see President Trump's speeches start to change. Now, all the blah blah shit that he's speaking about kind of starts making sense. It's like he's talking to you in innuendos. I did not vote for Trump. And I'm really cautious about how I view Trump because, again, I'm 50-50 with him as well. But I do know that he is speaking every time he gets on television, Twitter, whatever. He really does seem like an anus. He just seems like, where do they see that you are so intelligent? Like, what the hell's going on with this guy? Well, I'm going to tell you why. When he's speaking, he's breaking magical enchantments. That's why they want him out of office. Now, you can believe me or not, but if you do your research and you raise your consciousness and you start getting into some things, you're going to come back and leave me a comment here on this channel and you're going to say, man, I see it. And he's speaking to those who are awoke, who have awoken, the ones who are awake. And he will talk in a manner and he says certain things that those people recognize and they know. Because there is a code. You can't just come right out and say it. It's a code. For whatever there just is. There's a code. But you can give clues and you can give hints and you can leave a trail so that if the ones that are awoke are meant to figure it out, they will start to figure it out. And that's allowed. That's okay. But you can't just go and say, hey, this is what's going on. Blah, blah, blah. And he reminds me of an ancient Egyptian story. I'm not going to get into it for the sake of time in this video. But I'll leave in the description box the name of the Egyptian reference that I'm speaking about. And that's who he reminds me of. So he's saying these things, and some of it is to awaken some people. Upon hearing certain things, they'll start to click and they'll start to awaken. Because I do know as of 2019, we kind of came to this pivotal point of you had to make a decision. You had to make a decision once and for all. Where am I? Who am I? What am I good? Am I evil? Do I stand for everything that is destructive and just negative and that mighty S word that lives down under, is that my homie, or do I really resonate here in this higher frequency, in this heavenly energy? You really had to decide. So once you're making that decision, and why, I'm not quite sure. I haven't really figured that out yet. I don't have a theory on that yet. But you're forced to decide. Here or there. Pick one, because you can't be in both. You can't be in the middle. Pick one. I do have a theory on that. I think maybe there is going to be an Armageddon throwdown. So they're lining up their army is one of my theories. So, but it came to that point, because a lot of us were 50-50. We really could be some sinful assholes, but we really could be some really good people too and loving. So now they got it where you had to choose. So now there's this big push to change our frequencies. And to me, it does go hand in hand with, I studied and researched some stuff a couple years back. If you look at the components of the human being's DNA, the numbers come out to 666. When I did that research back then, the scientists said that in the future, human beings' DNA will come out to 777. So what they did is they tapped into something, and I know what that is. I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to save it for another video. They tapped into it, and they know how to change our frequency as a human being. And when you go in and you change your frequency, it ultimately changes your DNA. Yeah. And it's actually some really simple things that you can do. And then when you're changing your DNA, what you're ultimately doing is you are, when you're changing your DNA as a species, you're going from one level of consciousness, one level of energy, and ascending to a higher level of consciousness, a higher frequency, a higher vibration of an energy. And I have a theory on that of why this may be so important. And like I mentioned earlier in the talk here, I do a lot of spiritual work. I channel, I meditate, I do a lot of things, astral plane. I've spoke with some energies, and I've seen a lot of things. I've heard a lot of things with energies, entities out here in the astral plane, because that's where we meet up. But there's a point that we had gotten so out of whack here on Earth. The vibration, the frequency was so low that we were running a risk of going backwards in the evolutional scale. Now, can you imagine you're here and you know all these fabulous people in your family and your friends and your cousin Cindy brings her baby over and it's a fucking chimpanzee, you know? And I mean, I'm really not trying to be funny here, but as human beings, we were running the potential of going backwards in the evolutional scale, and not necessarily going backwards, but coming at a standstill. Because once you get where you can't evolve any higher, you're going to start dying out. You're going to start becoming extinct because you don't know how to proceed forward. You only know up to a certain point. So this started becoming a problem, a very scary problem. And not only that, on a planetary scale, as human beings, Earth, everything in it, we are all connected. You know, it's a group of scientists, Schumann, discovered that Earth's pulse, Earth's frequency pulsates, I believe it's 7.28 megahertz. Another scientist went in and he studied the brain, the human brain, come to the conclusion that the human brain's frequency is 7.28. So either, you know, we've been here, human beings have been here so long, we changed, you know, the pulse of the earth, or either way you look at it, we're connected. We're one and the same. We need the earth and the earth needs us. We beat to the same drum. So now really soak into that. Really think about that. When you have all this evil and this chaos and this negativity going on, you're feeling sad, you're feeling down. Well, Mother Earth is too. You're running the risk of changing the frequency of the earth. So now, in it, some of you may really grasp what I'm saying, some, yeah, but that's okay. So now think on a planetary scale. What happens when you change a body's frequency? You know, when you change a whole planet's frequency, it runs the risk of falling out of alignment, out of its natural rotation that it has, this cycle that it has, this pattern that it's done for so many millions of years. And in changing that in that drastic way, you know, now just think now all of a sudden Earth is slipping away It's pulled from its natural rotation. So now Earth's going further and further, could crash into the moon, could go, just think all kinds of crazy things. And then where are we? We done destroyed this whole beautiful thing. So there's really, really that importance, and there really is that need to start waking up, start changing the frequency. We need, I want to go up. I don't want to start becoming an extinct species, because what you'll do, and it's inevitable, you will have certain human beings that are not going to evolve. And literally, they're going to cease to exist. It really is like the survival of the fittest. If you as a human being and your DNA cannot evolve, it's going to cease to exist. And the sad thing is, there is going to be a lot of human beings out there that are not going to wake up, and they're not going to evolve. But all of the ones who are meant to really need to, and that's what this is all about. And that's why you're just seeing it everywhere, and it's kind of popping up everything everywhere. And there's plenty of people out there, plenty of places to go, plenty of inspirational vlogs, podcasts, you name it. You just got to seek it out and find it. But it's there. They're all over. So I'm gonna kind of and wind down on this talk, but I really wish you guys come back and catch me on the next one. I'm gonna have a couple links in the description box down below. I'm gonna keep it short and simple for this first one, and next one I'm gonna see how this one hits off here on the old tube. And then the next one, I'll possibly do a live stream so I can get some feedback. And we can communicate back and forth. But I'm going to leave you guys with that for now. Peace, love, and light. Much love. Good luck. And see you guys next time. Bye-bye.